In Season 2, Episode 7 of Steering Success, our next guest is Karim Nadi, the co-founder of RemotePass. Karim has been building arguably one of the most exciting businesses here in the region, helping businesses build their remote teams all around the world, and we're very excited to have him on board. Welcome, Karim. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Very good. Very excited to be here. Thank you.
Very good to have you here. I've been looking forward to this. People have been talking to us to sort of get us together for this episode. So I want to get straight into it. I'm a massive fan of what you're doing with RemotePass. Can you give us a bit of a sort of brief synopsis of who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah. I'm the co-founder of RemotePass. What we do is very much focus on onboard, manage and pay remote teams anywhere, either locally and globally. So think about it that way. Like anyone that want to access talent globally, we take care of anything that goes from onboarding, contracts to offboarding and anything in between, HR, payroll, and perks and benefits, tax management, all of those things all in one.
Amazing. Came across your business, I think it was like a few years ago when I went to STEP conference in Media City, and I saw your stand, and someone stopped me, and I was with my colleague Crystal, and they said, this is what we do. And I'm like, it was in this time where I was thinking, how can we create a sort of pathway to be able to build remote teams, because it was becoming so expensive to sort of scale in this part of the world or other parts of the world. And I was thinking, this has got legs. This idea is great. Like, something. How does it work, right? So, but how did you come up with it?
Look, I think the journey started, we needed it ourselves. We built it for ourselves initially. Before we were operating something very different called SafePass, right? Mm-hmm. And COVID came. We were in the travel industry, so obviously everything stopped. And we were like, okay, well, we already have that solution we built already for our teams, since our teams were very much global and remote. So we thought, you know what, if there is any natural pivot or switch, that would be that. And we called it RemotePass. Yep. So we needed it ourselves. We had that challenge ourselves with our remote teams. We didn't have the kind of really the right tools at the time to really manage them and onboard them and pay them. And yeah, that's how all started.
Amazing. Paint us a picture on where you're at the moment in your business, at what stage, how big you are, what you're achieving so far. What sort of milestones have you hit?
Yeah, we Series A kind of business. Yep. We grow substantially in the last 2 years. Yep. We launched 4 years ago. And as a business, like the idea is to really build something that people love, and obviously they feel like this is something of a big value add. We operate in 150 plus markets. We have clients all sizes, public listed companies, global businesses like Spotify, Logitech, and to name a few, and local businesses. So we started here in the region. Yep. I'm proud of that, very proud of that. But we really have a global kind of reach and exposure today.
You would kind of have to, considering that you're RemotePass and you should be sort of everywhere, right?
Yeah.
What are your biggest challenges so far?
Biggest challenge is very much like how this is the kind of really pain of growth, right? Which is, finding the right team, trying to really get that strong team that can get you to the next level. I think it's a struggle for most kind of really startups. I think if you ask anyone today, I think the number one kind of really struggle they have would be accessing talent. Yeah. We help with that to a certain extent, but it's not easy to find, committed, 100% committed people. And I think, I think through points that was referring to earlier in our discussion is that finding people with commitment, with the right sense of, not only commitment, but really kind of trust. Yeah. That's super important, especially in a setting that is remote. I think we dismiss that point a little bit more and more because, generally it's you assess talents based on certain KPIs of performance. But I think on a remote setting, I think it's super important to have, to think about what kind of person that person would be operating on its own. Yep. So the trust is super important. And we kind of work and try to really find those kind of talents with that. I think it's super important that we struggle to always find those kind of talents, really.
That trust topic, it comes up quite a bit with me. Like in my position, I'm privy to a lot of conversations with a lot of either CEOs or founders. And when we talk about scaling their businesses and we suggest look remote and to try and, save costs or to access greater talent. A lot of the pushback, especially in this part of the world, is, but how do I trust that they're not going to go MIA? How do I manage this sort of process? The mindset is still, can this be done? Can it be managed from here when they're in 3 or 4 different countries? It's still that sort of work in progress at the moment. Do you find that sort of nervousness when you are talking to your clients, when they do have these remote teams set up, that they don't know whether it's going to last?
It is 100%. I think the hiring process changed. Most of those companies that really have that struggle, I guess it's just because they haven't adapted. The need changed and the environment changed, but the process of hiring didn't change. So you can't as I mentioned earlier, is that you're asking the wrong questions on the process of hiring the person. And it's not easy also to assess someone on trust. Like it's not a tick box question.
No,
it's more of its own kind of really process. And I think this is where, in my view, it's something that we're working on. I know we're far from perfect on that, but I feel we really improved a lot on that side, and that's why we have most of our team is remote. And I think this is one of the pitfalls that actually a lot of companies fall into, is that they don't do a lot of due diligence when it comes to actually finding those people based on trust, not just based on performance.
Clients who actually think of you as a recruitment partner, because you do provide the sort of access to to be able to provide visas and that sort of operational sort of support. Do they ever come to you and say, "Can you find us people in these countries where you're positioned?"
Operating, yeah. No, we do, and we have a big kind of network of recruiters that we work with closely, and the partners that vetted to be a partner for RemotePass, and we tend to help them. But it's not our core value, right? Proposition. It's the moment we come in is when you find the talent and everything else, but we can help you with that process. And we do that today. Again, like it depends on the kind of relationship that we have with the customer, to kind of what extent can we help them. Yeah. But we do it today via our partners mail.
Okay. The visa landscape in this part of the world has always been a challenge. I think back to when I moved here 9 years ago, and I came here from a pure sort of contract freelancer sort of market, right? And then I moved here, and it was predominantly permanent recruitment. Everyone was on, contracts, and just, gratuity and medical insurance and everything. I was like, where's the contract work? Where's the freelance work? It didn't exist. And COVID sort of kind of sped it up a little bit with flexibility on freelancer visas and these sort of digital nomad sort of visas, and people are working or living here but working abroad, and all these different sort of flexibilities that were created by the government. We've still got a long way to go to be able to create that sort of ecosystem, that sort of just that freelancer sort of marketplace that is required to bring everyone together. But we're working towards it. Your business is a huge driver towards that now. Absolutely. Because it creates a platform. Because if I'm a business who finally comes to that conclusion that I want to hire remote, the second thing is, how do I do this? Yeah, absolutely. Right? And then you provide that solution, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There is clearly one thing that we've noticed in a lot, especially in the last few years, especially the last actually couple of years in particular, is that I'm one of them. Obviously, I just moved in from London here in Dubai, and we definitely noticed that traffic is toward like coming here in the region, in particular for the UAE and KSA, is massive, right? That's the kind of major increase and major change. But saying that is that with that comes complications around visa, relocation services, and we cover all of that, and we make it very simple, so they don't have to deal with it. We really make it a lot seamless and straightforward, and cost effective. So it's not really that complicated, really. Now, it's not only that, the traffic can go the other way too, as to, in the region and beyond. If you want to, as a business, you're here and you want to kind of really work with someone outside of the UAE and KSA and region, you can work with them. And we make that process also seamless. And again, depends on what kind of jobs are we talking about. In certain jobs, you have flexibility. And I think any company and every company should have both options, either come and work in that particular location because of security requirements or whatever that is, right? Or the job's sensitivity or whatever. But then you also you need to give them the option if someone wants to stay in south of France or Spain or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because they family, you know, they want to be close to their family somewhere. They should have that option too, right? Otherwise, you limit yourself, and then you're not going to access the best of breed, and you'll be missing out.
Are there specific challenges that you face with certain countries that you're working in at the moment to be able to provide that employment contracts or the legalities around it?
Honestly, with the countries that we cover today, when I think about over 150 countries that we cover, as long as nobody comes up and just say, hey, look, can you work with North Korea? That's absolutely fine. So most of the countries and, you know, when it's possible, when I say there is no embargo, some kind of restrictions from the UN or, you know, absolutely fine. There's no complications. That we streamlined that process. We made it very much automated. You can, in the platform, in a couple of minutes, onboard anyone, anywhere. And that's the kind of beauty that we brought into that game of facilitating access to talents globally. We
use it, you know, for our freelancers, and it's seamless. It's seamless to onboard. It's seamless to make the payments for their monthly salaries. You know, it's a very, very easy process from a client perspective, and from a candidate as well. They have zero complaints, so it's actually doing wonders for us.
We're glad to hear that. But look, I think since day one, I think one of the things that my co-founder and I has always been like obsessed with customer satisfaction, looking at every single detail around how our customers want really. And for us, our success is looking at NPS and the feedback of our customers, and that's how we build the product. It's not like, okay, you know what, we have this great idea, let's just do it. No, do they need it? It's going to be used. Why? How many people need this? And then kind of go from the customer back to the product, you know, to the production side. So it's we always been like that. So it's very important to us, and always like we value your customer.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
I'm going to put you on the spot now because I want to hear what the plans are moving forward. Let's put it on the line here and let the millions of viewers of this podcast that actually listen to it. But what do you see happening with RemotePass in the next 12 to 24 months?
Look, it's like, as I mentioned, like for us, it's all about the customers and the market, right? We already started for the last at least 12 months or 24 months that we started really pushing toward building a full fintech solution around contractors and remote workers. And I think that's the direction we're taking. We really want to build something that is exciting, that's something that can add value to the remote workforce and to our clients, of course. We want to serve the underserved markets, and we really feel like we do so. And I think you know, that happens all the time, by the way. It's not just the last event in North Star, which we were exhibiting. I was like, I have people coming, random people, just because I'm wearing t-shirts, obviously always having the brand, right? And people come to you and just from some really, you know, anywhere, from everywhere, from different kind of countries, and they will come to you and just, hey, we love what you guys do. I get paid because of you. I get access to health insurance because of you guys. I have your card, and then I get paid instantly and all that stuff. I think all of these things just kind of reconfirm and reaffirm the fact that we're really building something that is useful, something that changes people's life.
100%.
Again, like it's super important to really, you know, maybe it sounds for someone based in the UK or based in Europe or someone based in the US, it's not as exciting to really have get paid instantly and get access to all these perks and benefits and health insurance. But for a lot of people, especially in emerging markets, South America or Africa or Middle East, we're in Middle East here, and Asia Pacific, it's a game changer. They definitely don't have that freedom of choice that some folks do have.
Let's stay with the human side. We always touch on the human side with every guest of ours. We were talking off air when just about the people, and you mentioned it earlier as well. I know a couple of the people that work with you, Wes and Dina, who are just great human beings. We've known them for a while. How do you build a culture that keeps them there, that keeps them engaged? And where did this sort of leadership sort of skill set come from? Who did you learn this from, or who have you sort of lent on throughout your career?
I was very lucky that I have really worked closely with some amazing people. I mean, the list is long, but I'm just going to focus on maybe 2 or 3 names. I think one was Nick Lehman. Like, he's some very posh English kind of individual. Worked with News International, was amazing, property finder.
Yeah.
And, I can think of Crack's founder, Tom Chavez, amazing again. He sold a couple of businesses, one to Salesforce and one to Microsoft. Achieved great stuff, and I worked really closely with him. I was lucky to really kind of spend some time with him. Eric Heichmann and JP Ruzel the CEO of Criteo. Again, I was really working always closely with them during my time there. So the list is long, but it's not just about founders, C-level, but it's also the team that we have. Like you mentioned a couple of names, but I'm lucky to spend time with them and really I also get inspired just working with them every day. My co-founding team, they're relentless. They have that grit to kind of really go and do it. Sense of purpose is there. And I think this is the thing that we really all have, is that we all have same sense of purpose of really making an impact in a region and beyond. And if you don't have a mission, you don't have like a purpose, I just think you fall short. And I think this is what I always, whenever I have conversation with any new joiners or existing team members, I just remind them daily, as much as I can, that what we do, this is what you do. It's not that you're making a call or you're closing a deal or you're just managing like a request for someone and happy about certain things or want to fix that or whatever. You really have an impact on everyone's daily life. You are dealing with payroll. Payroll is a livelihood of people. So it's really having that so kind of a full picture of what that means, what we do and the impact of it. And I think once you understand that, your job doesn't become like just tasks.
Yeah,
you see the bigger picture, and that's I think super important. And a lot of people don't do that, and I think it's you can not do enough. You can definitely do. I can do more.
Did you focus on the company values and just those sort of things in the early stages of your business, or was it later on as you grew?
It was later on as we grew, but it was the kind of those rules that were unwritten, but they were practiced but not practice and preach, but they weren't written anywhere.
Yeah,
it was when we went into that kind of when we switched toward like writing them down. It was an easy job, an easy work, an easy process, because we were already kind of doing that on a daily basis and everything that we do. So yeah, it was just a straightforward thing. I just felt that we always had them without really writing them somewhere.
Yeah,
and that was the change, really.
That's the utopian world when it's just so natural that you share those values and then you live those values, right? Without just putting those plaques on the wall and saying this is what our values are.
Exactly. Well, what does that mean? How does that apply? How does that fit in with what I do? And this is the kind of things that I mentioned earlier, is that when someone comes in, I don't know, in sales, or it's like I try to really bring in like what his tasks daily kind of align with our values and how he should be seeing those tasks. So it's no is not anymore no, right? Yeah. It's like it's something else. You take it personally. I think when it's personal, you 100%, you're dedicated. Your performance is another level. That's very important. So that's why I try to always bring in the values in every conversation that I have with the team.
Do you see it becoming more and more difficult as you grow larger and larger to be able to sort of bring that in together?
It is a little bit difficult because obviously now it's like we're like 100 plus kind of business, and it's not anymore like 5 or 10 team members. Yeah. But at the same time, I think if you have a strong kind of really foundation with a strong kind of management team, that you kind of having those discussions on a regular basis and reminding them that this is core to the values are core, and that's how it aligns to our mission. And having those regular kind of really catch up and all hands and daily stand-ups and all of these kind of really activities that you can do to really kind of have an open communication channel with everyone, it makes it easier.
Yeah.
Doesn't it's not always an easy sale, but again, it comes with challenges. But you do what you have to do to really kind of keep it moving for sure.
Of course. Let's talk about being a founder, and let's talk about being a founder in the Middle East, because I think it comes with its own set of challenges, right? So I've been lucky enough to be given access to a lot of founders over the last 6-7 years. I've worked with people like Hub 71, which you would know quite well.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot of struggles around fundraising, like you said earlier, talent and finding the right people for your business. Do you think the ecosystem is there, structured and strong enough to be able to support founders to be successful, or do you still think there's a lot more that needs to be done as an ecosystem?
Yeah, look, I really think it's, just to kind of maybe back to one thing we talked about earlier, which is the traffic of talents coming in here. And I think here I'm not talking just about specific kind of talent working to complete certain tasks, but also founders. As I said, I'm one of them. And I think the reason why most of people are now seeing that move toward the UAE and KSA has been great opportunities. That the environment is definitely changing, getting better. I compare it to when I came in maybe 12, 15 years ago, completely changed. I think it's a lot more business friendly. It's easy. Everything is super simple, not complicated. I think it's changing for the best. And I think the testament for it is that traffic that I was referring to, that I see. I engage with people at Hub 71 regularly. A lot of them are kind of clients. I engage with people in different events, and one thing that it's common is the fact that they're seeing things are changing for the best, and I think that's definitely a testament to the great work that the UAE is doing and KSA are doing right now.
Do you spend time with other founders in your community and try and sort of guide them, considering that you've gone to that stage, that big jump from either pre-seed and seed to the sort of Series A is that big step? Once you're there, you're now thinking the next step, right? But like that's the hardest jump that a lot of sort of startups struggle to go from that sort of seed round to sort of Series A. Are you finding that people are coming to you, tapping you on the shoulder and asking for your time?
It does happen, and I'm always, obviously I've been there, and obviously I've been helped, and I was lucky enough to really be helped with some amazing kind of really friends now and founders. And I mean, I can name few, but really it's a long list. And but also like the support of Hub 71, support of Wanda, again, Beko, and so many that really helped with that journey. And I'm always as feeling being on the receiving end at one point and being helped for no particular reason, right? Just because people really care and want to support the ecosystem. I don't think that there is any motivation apart from the fact that it's natural for me to really just want to give back. So I'm always available. I always kind of, whenever there's a call, whenever there's someone who just wanted to have a conversation about how they can do things, or advice, or opinion sharing, or brainstorming, I'm always there. And just recently, I can think of just earlier, just had one. So it's something that we all need to do. It's something that's we're small economy, a smaller ecosystem, and we need to kind of support each other for sure.
People don't realize how small it is. It is a very tiny ecosystem. Even though it might feel large to us because we're in it, compared to other parts of the world, it is minuscule.
It's very small. Yeah. But it's exciting too. Like you really, the quality of people you meet, it's amazing. Like really, really top quality. You can see some people that are really excited to really make an impact, and they really care. And when you see someone with that attitude, why will you not help? I mean, it's very hard to really say.
Like a Monday morning breakfast in Hub 71. That's just
to do it.
The buzz there.
It's an amazing buzz. You have to do it. Just think that it is. When you're in an environment like this, in which it's you feel like it's a small family, and why would you not help your family? Like it's not even, we're not talking about ecosystem, because the moment you talk about ecosystem, then you start thinking maybe distance and complication. It's not. It's a small family. Like literally, when I go to events, It's hugs everywhere. You know everyone when you go to different kind of really gathering or dinners, whatever. It's always the same faces, and it's nice. It's nice to really have that kind of really close, strong kind of bond between the founders.
Yeah, brilliant. The VC world has changed quite a bit over the last 2 to 3 years. One thing that's probably stayed the same is the view on early stage businesses, and they invest in the founders more than the idea or the 100%. Business, right? So knowing that, if you're an early stage founder, how do you develop a sort of personal brand that can really engage and get buy-in from an investor at such an early stage in your business?
I think you need to kind of be honest with yourself. I think it's super important is that if you are not good enough as to having that brand, maybe you're good at the product side, right? Maybe you need to kind of work with someone else that maybe have something else, skill sets that you don't have. Because what happened in those kind of meetings, presentation, is that you turn up and they'll say, well, you know, you have this and that, you don't have that. Like, you have someone.
Give us a horror story. Yeah. Give us one bad story.
A horror story, I can think of one particular one, because honestly, we were lucky enough. But I think, again, like really, I was exposed to one IPO, takeover by Salesforce at one point. And I've seen quite a few things in which I was lucky enough to learn from those. Yeah. I was a little bit ready. And my co-founder did raise funds before, and he was exposed to also the region in particular from on the funding side. So that kind of really give us an edge in comparison to most, right? Someone new completely. What we've seen is that if you come up not prepared as a team, strong team, founding team, because as you said, and rightly so, is that most of people at that stage, most of the, if someone will invest on you. They don't want to invest on product because there is no market. Potentially, there is no market fit. There is no proof of any.
It's an idea, right?
Yeah, it's an idea. So it's all about the team. So if you don't have a very strong team with a strong experience, fine, make it.
So how hard is that? Because finding a co-founder or two that share the same values as yourself, when you go into that meeting and then you realize that there's a gap in what you can't bring to the table. Yeah. So then you go out and try and find a co-founder. I mean, that arguably is the hardest role to find, right?
It is. And I think the beauty of things is that in an ecosystem like this, where we operate is amazing, because we're a small family, everyone knows everyone. And I think if you just kind of connect with one of we talked about Have 71 as an example of Wamda or any of those organizations. They're amazing because they can just literally help you kind of really speed up that process to find a co-founder. They know exactly, who they will support. Yeah. So they sit on both sides, right? So they have a view when the founder side and founder teams, and they've seen success and seen failures. So they can give you a lot of help and insights into how you can find that, and they can potentially even make intros. And I think this is amazing. I can go back a few years back, and that wasn't an option, unless if you know a few team, a few known names, right? And they're not going to prioritize you. They have other stuff going on. So, but now you have amazing organizations that literally their job is to support founders, and you just need to prompt them and ask the right questions. And be honest with yourself initially, like very important, because some people, and I think this is one of the challenges that I've noticed as well with founders journey, is that you need to fight your ego. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. Founders as naturally kind of always think they're right. And it's normal. They do. A strong kind of attitude and really mindset, which is good, and it's important as a founder. But at the same time, it's very important to question and things, and just be honest with yourself and say, well, you know what, I'm not good at that. And I think as an offering to go to the market with an idea like this, I need that and that to really complete myself and have a very strong, have the best chance for me to succeed as a business. And not just I can do it all myself, because you can't.
That ego thing is huge, right? And I can speak from personal experience. My business, Arc Talent, was acquired now by Al Nas Advisory. Seth, was the original founder from Al Nas. When he tapped me on the shoulder and then we started talking, it took us a few months to sort of, iron out how that would look. But one of the things was, okay, so just drop the name Arc Talent. And I went home and I was like, Arc Talent's my business. Like, that's like my name. Like, that's like me. That's what I'm affiliated to. But it took me 24 hours to just say, let it go. Don't worry about it. There's a bigger picture here. Much bigger move to play here, rather than just holding on to a name that I've had for 5 years as a business. But I know so many other examples where people will dig their heels in because their particular sort of brand, their personal sort of thing is theirs, right? And they can't let it go. So to that, when you mentioned earlier, finding those right sort of founders, whether it's through a recommendation, through a VC, or through a network in the ecosystem, it's still quite challenging, right? Because you're already in the business, you've already put your heart and soul into this so-called baby, this is yours. And then this individual's coming in, he or she's coming in to do a particular job for you that you can't do, but they're not where you are. Whether it's that mental investment, that emotional investment, they're not there yet. How do you manage that onboarding with that person?
So that question kind of being honest with yourself, analyzing yourself, and actually what you're good at and what you're not. You have to do it early. When I say early, it's a very early stage. So you have started the idea, maybe, okay? And that happens actually between me and my co-founder, right? My co-founder came up with the first initial idea of RemotePass, and I joined him. We worked. He was my first client in previous venture that I was working in, and since then we became close friends, and we kept in touch. And obviously, when he wanted to go to market with the idea, it's like, oh, you know what, Karim, can you help me with that? And I was like, yeah, great, let's do it. And then obviously, fast forward, COVID came in and we switched, but we were together on the current venture, which is RemotePass. But it's when he approached me with the idea, I didn't tell him, hey, look, my consultancy at the time, I had different consultancy. I don't know, we're going to go with this name. And I was like, you know what? This makes sense. We need to find a name that makes sense. Let's work on that. You've got to put your ego to the side, no matter what kind of level it is, and just move on quickly, because by taking time to really just get stuck on those kind of things, you lose out a lot.
So true.
And it's not worth it. But the ego always fight back. Yeah. And this is the challenge. I think if you able to really manage that and control that part, and move on from failures, move on from getting stuck onto those kind of things that really fight your ego, I think you and obviously you have the attitude of like the great is very important, and really just keep going, keep pushing.
It's a fine line between that ego though and that confidence that might spill over into arrogance as well, and which impacts you as a leader in a business, because how you lead and how you're perceived by your team as well. There are so many connecting pieces as a leader, and if you're able to check the ego at the door, embrace that humility, and just, think the wider picture. Like, I worked for a business years ago where we had a sort of mantra in our business. It had to be company, team, and individual. Absolutely. That was your order. Absolutely. You had to always think about the organization first as a whole, as the entire business, the global business that I was working for, then your individual division, of course, and then yourself was last. And that was a hard concept for a lot of people to sort of grasp, because they were so used to thinking, what's in it for me? How is this going to impact me? Why do I have to do this? Why can't they do that for me? There were so many questions being asked, but if you just check all that and just think, if we all collectively aim for what's the best for the organization, for the business, we're all individually going to hit our goals. We're all going to be looked after. We're all going to be achieving things and growing together, right?
Yeah, it's an alignment of objective, right? If rather than really focus on what isn't it for me, what isn't it for you, what isn't it for us? I think that kind of really changes everything. Like, the question is not just about individuals, it's about group. And once you have that discussion, and there's no me in that kind of discussion, on that brainstorming, whatever decision needs to be made at a group level. And now the beauty of it is we used to have the privilege of just being my co-founder, just really having discussion and making calls quickly. Now, obviously, in Series A, like, we have a board, and there's a lot more, and which is good.
Yeah,
which is life-changing, but it's a really good thing, because now we have another level of scrutiny and due diligence and brainstorming that we didn't have before. It was brainstorming with two brains, right? We used to just like bounce ideas and just like, oh, yeah, let's do it, right? And we do it. Now it's like, it's a bigger team, a lot more kind of brain power to really kind of come decision, which means that whatever you do, it's completely it's a calculated risk, right? It's always risk. It's always uncertain.
Yeah, of course.
But you got a lot of people involved in that process. It doesn't slow it by any means, by the way. It doesn't slow it because we're talking about big decisions, big shifts. And yeah, it's a great experience to really be able to put the ego to the side and have like a group conversation and everyone kind of, being questioned about what you think a lot. Not just from one person, but now from a group. It's a good exercise, but you've got to be willing to take it.
Yeah.
If you're not, but if you can't do that, that's not for you, basically.
Yeah, it isn't.
You've got to be able to train stuff. And honestly, my now back thinking like when I was like my first initial experiences back in Morocco and in France, like the feedback was from everyone at the time. When I'm talking about really like 21, 22, it's like, you're stubborn. You have those kind of ideas you don't want to change, right? Yeah. You don't want to completely change. Now I actually listen to people. I take feedback, but again.
Was there a moment for you that actually made you sort of just switch?
I think it's when you realize that. I mean, there's quite a few people saying it. I kind of, I haven't heard it once. I've heard it like a few times, and I was like, you know what? It must be some truth in this. Yeah. I should start really properly listening and get people's opinion properly. It's not just me. And I think that is a shift, is realizing that when you hear it twice or a little bit more, it's like, sit down. Like there's something there. Yeah. Let's be honest with yourselves and really put the ego aside and really just have a very honest conversation with yourself and really go from there and just don't lie to yourself. I think it's super important that, goes back to what we talked about earlier and the trust, the honesty. Those are kind of key values in which we really like. This is what we practice every day in everything that we do. Marco found that at least, for sure. And then we try to really mirror this in everything that we do with the team.
One last question, and I'll put you on the spot again.
Please.
What's the biggest piece of advice that you'd share with any early stage founder who's looking to sort of make it in this part of the world? What would you sort of say to them to say, this is the one thing that you need to hold on to?
One thing. I mean, there's a lot, but...
Or maybe two or three.
Okay.
I'll make it easier for you.
Look, I think the one thing that I kind of came to my mind is, I think is the fact that you need to fail and fail fast and don't get stuck, right? What I mean with this is that don't be afraid of testing things. At the end of the day, it's a start up again and again and again and again and again. Yeah. And if you, the one thing that we've done, and sometimes you get stuck on certain mistakes, like, you dwell around it. The longer that goes, the longer you're missing out on trying something different, but maybe that can lead to something that can be success, right? So it's about really going fast about that kind of failure, trial and failure and success. And not repeating those mistakes and then learning from them and moving on quickly. It goes back to the ego, right? Don't get stuck. Yeah. Don't dwell to it too much on it and move on quickly. And I think that's for sure like one thing that, I think it's very important as a founder to really have. Just have that kind of attitude of like just going for it, trying again. And don't see failure as something that will stop you. It's something that you can just see as a learning curve to do something better and to learn from it and just bounce and try something new daily, right? And be curious. I think curiosity is not something that we preach enough. And I think why I say curiosity is that you cannot know enough. I just think that there's no way you can just know everything. And certainly leverage more and more like those new technologies. Automate what could be automated, build like processes that could be automated, and then really build like something that could be like oil the machines, right? Like anything that could be done again, same way, just automate it. Leverage new technologies. I'm talking about AI in particular, like to really do things faster.
You've essentially given us a whole playbook now. This is amazing.
I think it's super important that people sometimes are scared of change, adapting to change and trying to change and be open to it. It's going to really help you a lot. But just don't. We've tried. Have you tried it really? Have you really given it all you can? Have you really tried this and that? And no, I don't know. This works. I know. No, you don't know. Like you never know. So yeah, it's the base kind of line for me. I think it's really just being open, curious, learn from everyone. Surround yourself with like the best people there's a lot of people you can, as I said, like it's not just learning from the top, it's all levels. I'm really lucky to have an amazing team that I work with daily, that's committed, that give 100%. I know the side stories of the families and partners. It's super important to really kind of get close, because then you have another level of commitment both ways. So it's super important, and I hope that.
Brilliant. Great answer. Karim, thank you so much for coming on, man. I love the passion, love the vision, the way that you communicate your views for your business, but just in the whole sort of founder world. It's just fantastic, man. Thank you so much, man.
Pleasure. Thank you, man.